Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Victim's Voice. I'm your host, Lorelai. Today is the first episode of a new segment I'm starting. It's going to include a couple of the top stories that have been in the media lately. These episodes will drop on the opposite Friday that my regular episodes drop, so there will now be a new episode to listen to almost every Friday. With that being said, let's jump in. Our first story is out of East Point, Michigan, which is just 12 miles from Detroit. On July 10th of 2025, shortly after 8 a.m., a single mom of 6 children, Jennifer Harris, was working the morning shift as a manager at the local McDonald's when someone wearing a mask and wielding a knife came through the employee entrance and stabbed Jennifer at least 15 times. She succumbed to her injuries. A good Samaritan who happened to be in the drive-thru grabbing their morning coffee and egg McMuffin saw the stabbing take place near the drive-thru window. This person had their conceal and carry and had a gun with him at the time. They pulled it out and fired a shot into the air, hoping to stop the assailant from continuing to stab Jennifer. It seemed to work as the person dropped the knife and ran towards their car in an attempt to flee the scene. The Good Samaritan, however, chased the person down and held him at gunpoint until the police arrived. The attack was captured on video by McDonald's surveillance cameras, and there were multiple witnesses to the attack, including other workers and customers. Those people tried to help Jennifer after the person who stabbed her ran, but as I already said, Jennifer didn't make it. First of all, thank goodness for this person who actually saw something and did something, instead of just driving off and minding their own business. Had they done that, who knows what else this person would have done or who else they might have attacked. 39-year-old Jennifer Harris had worked at this McDonald's for 15 years at the time of the attack. She had just recently become a manager, which included managing the employees and making sure they did their job, which seems to be what led to this horrific attack. So who was this person who came in and attacked Jennifer, who was just doing the same thing that she did every morning, going to work and making money to support her children? That person was 26-year-old Afeni Muhammad. She was an employee of the East Point McDonald's. Apparently, for the last few days before the incident, Jennifer had sent Afeni home early for not doing her job. Afeni actually made an Instagram post 2 days prior on July 8th. I'm going to play it for you now and will also post it on the Victim's Voice on Facebook. Here is what Afeni had to say in the video.
I got sent home early yesterday. I got sent home early today by the same person. I'm telling you, she's a bully. This shit isn't funny. She needs to understand that just because she's a mother and got children doesn't mean that she can come in the store, disrespecting people, talking to them like everybody's beneath her. She has no respect. And it isn't funny at all. Like, seriously, man, I got shit I got to take care of. And she keeps sending me home early. It's not funny. She's playing games. And then all day, throughout the day, she keeps sending her little racial shit. And then throughout the day, she keeps on, putting negative energy in the air, talking about people, gossiping about people. It's not funny, man. That shit gonna have to stop. She's a bully. I'm telling you. She's a bully. She brings a lot of negative energy in there. She always panic when it's a lot going on. And then she try to manipulate that and make it seem like we ain't doing something right. But we are working really hard and doing great. It's just the fact that she panicked, and I caught her a few times making a mistake, and she tried to hurry up and play it off. Nobody's perfect. It's fucking McDonald's. It happens. You know what I mean? Sometimes, somebody might get confused. So fuck, it gets busy, yeah. But she needs to stop playing like she don't be making mistakes. I be catching her. So all that animosity and shit that she keep putting in the air and stuff, and then trying to tell me, I'm always snapping on people. No, that's false. No, I don't snap on people. I don't go in there doing that. I tell her, no, I make peace. That's what I'm doing. I've been creating peace. So all that negative energy that she's bringing in there and trying to manipulate it, no, that's going to stop. All that negative shit she's saying about, her personal life, all of that. No, she's bringing all that in there and then playing games saying she want to take her belt off and beat somebody. Y'all act like my kids in here. No, we ain't your kids. Respect us. Stop talking to us like that. That shit is crazy. I'm telling you. But to get sent home 2 days in a row, man, and I came in on my off day to make up my time, and she still sends me home early, it's not funny. Somebody will have to do something about that. It's not funny. It's not fair. It isn't funny at all. So, she could keep being a bully if she wants to, but that shit is going to catch up to her. Because it ain't funny at all. It ain't.
So, according to Afeni, Jennifer brought negative energy into the workplace and had accused Afeni of snapping on people. But she would never do that. She makes peace. I call bullshit on that one. Afeni was mad that she had gotten sent home from work 2 days in a row, and then it happened again on July 10th. So, she thought the right thing to do was to come back and kill the manager? How is that making peace or having positive energy? If you don't like the fact that you're getting sent home early for not doing your job, then do your job. Or if you feel that you are being bullied or targeted by this manager, then you go up the chain to corporate and file a grievance, or maybe transfer to a different McDonald's. Or hell, even go find a new job altogether. Anything but this. There's nothing that Jennifer could have done or said to warrant being stabbed to death. And from what people are saying that knew Afeni, and from some of the posts on her own Instagram, it did look and sound like she was one of those kinds of people who didn't like to work, but wanted the paycheck. If you want to check out her Instagram, it's still up. It's called Official Risen Phoenix. People that worked at the McDonald's said that Jennifer was a caring manager who treated everyone who worked there like family. She was a hard worker who was determined to work her way up to provide for her children as a single mother. She cared about people, and according to her daughter, she was the best mom that anyone could ever have. And she would have given you the last dime she had or the shirt off of her back if you needed it. This was the complete opposite of how Afeni had described her in her video. Employees that had been working the morning shift of July 10th said that Jennifer had sent Afeni home because she wasn't doing her job and it had caused the drive-through to be backed up. Other people who had worked with Afeni in prior years came forward, and what they had to say portrayed a person who seemed to think that they were not only entitled to whatever they wanted, but someone that also had a past of violent behavior. One person had worked with Afeni at Taco Bell in 2019, making her about 19 or 20 years old at the time. This witness said that Afeni would constantly pick on the manager regarding her schedule. She would tell them that she was working a second job while also pursuing a music career, so she needed certain days off or to be switched after the schedule had already been made. If she didn't get her way, she would be disrespectful to the manager and basically bully them. That's funny because we know Afeni was calling Jennifer the bully, when it seemed like Afeni just didn't want to listen to someone who was an authoritative figure. This witness also said that while at work, Afeni would hide in unusual places, sing loudly at random times, and worked with others in a passive aggressive manner. During one incident, Afeni pulled a knife on another employee and pinned her against the wall in the freezer when this employee wouldn't change shifts with her. And then during another incident, Afeni waited for an employee outside next to his car. When he came out, Afeni reached under the car, grabbed him by his ankles, shackled him, and threatened him at knife point to stop bullying her. Human Resources was involved in this incident, but Afeni was not terminated from Taco Bell, which makes me wonder what in the hell is wrong with Taco Bell. A person who had dated Afeni also came forward. This person, who had dated her from December of 22 until July of 23, said being with her was horrible and that when he broke up with her, he had to move out of his home for 3 months for his own safety. He stated that though what happened with Jennifer was a sad turn of events, he can't say that he didn't see it coming. And here's another shocker. Afeni had been charged in a prior incident for stabbing someone. Yes, you heard that right. This isn't the first time she had been in trouble with the law for the same exact thing. In March of 2022 in Virginia, Afeni stabbed either an ex-boyfriend or boyfriend. I couldn't find for certain which it was, but she was charged with felony malicious wounding. But then she took a plea deal, so it was reduced to unlawful injury or a stabbing without malice. She was given a 4-year suspended sentence and 1 year of probation. Therefore, she avoided any jail time. I'm really tired of hearing about these plea deals lately. Had she not been given a plea deal and actually served the 4-year sentence, then she would have still been in prison and not working at McDonald's. Therefore, Jennifer would still be alive. There had been at least 3 prior incidents with Afeni threatening or stabbing someone with a knife, but she was still free to continue stabbing people until she finally killed someone. It boils down to this girl shouldn't be within 10 miles of any kind of sharp object. One other thing I want to mention, but it's not a known fact, at least not yet, but I've seen it in quite a few places. Afeni was renting a room from a 63-year-old man named Ronald Wayne Fisher, who is a registered sex offender. Afeni had made a few TikToks complaining about him and accusing him of forcing her to show him her body and continuously asking her to have sex with him. Apparently, he has not been seen for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and people are saying that he's missing. Like I said, this has not been verified for sure, but if I see anything else regarding this Fisher guy, I will let you know. Afeni was taken to the Macomb County Jail where she was arraigned on July 11th on a charge of homicide in the first degree, which would carry a life without parole sentence, and a charge of carrying a dangerous weapon with unlawful intent, which is a felony carrying a 5-year sentence. She pleaded not guilty and was given a $25 million cash-only bond, which means her ass is likely staying in jail until a trial or she gets sentenced. Her case was set for a probable cause conference on July 23rd, which is tomorrow, and a preliminary hearing on July 30th. The McDonald's reopened its doors on July 13th, and on July 14th, they had a balloon release for Jennifer. The owner of the McDonald's, Youssef Al-Qadri, is covering the funeral expenses for Jennifer Harris. There has also been a GoFundMe set up called the Jennifer Harris Legacy Fund, which will help support her 6 children's housing, education, food, transportation, and personal development. I will post the link to the GoFundMe on the Victim's Voice Facebook page. Now, on to our next story. We're going to talk about the plea deal that Stephan Stearns entered into on Monday, July 21st. And let me tell you, I'm pissed. 38-year-old Stephan Stearns was arrested in February of 2024 after his girlfriend, Jennifer Soto's 13-year-old daughter, Madeline Soto, went missing. Stephan was reportedly the last person to see Maddie, claiming that he had dropped her off up the road from her school because she wanted to walk the rest of the way. When Jen went to pick up Maddie, she discovered that she hadn't been at school at all that day. She checked several places for her daughter, and by that evening, when no one was able to find her, the police were called. During the investigation, they seized Stephan Stearns' phone, which he had tried to factory reset 2 different times before they had confiscated it, but it did not work, and what they found was horrific. Over 1,500 photos and videos were on his phone depicting the sexual abuse that he had put Maddie through over the years, going back as far as when she was 8 years old. So for at least 4 to 5 years, this monster was abusing this little girl and keeping the collection on his phone so he could remember all the details. What a sick piece of shit. Stephan was arrested at the end of February for what they found on his phone and was charged with 60 counts of CSAM, or child sexual abuse material. A few days after that, Maddie was found on the side of the road under some bamboo trees, 40 minutes from her home. She had been strangled to death. In April of 2024, almost 2 months after Maddie was found, a grand jury indicted Stephan Stearns on first-degree murder of Madeline Soto, and the state was seeking the death penalty. And there were more disturbing details revealed in this case when it came to Jen Soto, Maddie's mom. People, including myself, believe she should have been charged with something, at least for child neglect or endangering a child, because what she allowed to happen was just wrong and disgusting. See, Maddie had usually slept in bed with her mom, but on the night that Maddie was murdered, and many other nights for that matter, Jen wanted to get a good night's sleep, according to her own words, and so she sent Maddie to go sleep in the guest bedroom with Stephan. She just was giving him an open invitation to do whatever the hell he wanted with her daughter, which he did. People also wonder if Jen didn't know what was going on and that maybe her and Stefan were making money with the photos that he was caught with. I mean, he didn't have a job and she was only working a mere 2 days a week. So where were they getting their money from? None of this is fact. It's just pure speculation. But the fact that she let them sleep together is enough for me to think that there is seriously something wrong with that woman. To this day, Jen Soto has not been charged with anything, and in fact, she has stayed quiet for the most part since Stefan's arrest. So, for the last year and a half, Stefan was sticking with his not guilty plea, and they were moving towards two trials, one for the sexual abuse material and molestation, and one for the murder. The first was to take place this month, and the murder trial was to take place in September. The defense did file some motions along the way, the biggest one being that they wanted all of the evidence from Stefan's phone thrown out because they said it was obtained illegally. But that didn't happen. Then, with jury selection set to take place on July 22nd of 2025, news reports started reporting that there was going to be a plea hearing on July 21st. And there was. That was yesterday, the day after or the day before I'm recording this episode. And let me tell you, I'm still livid. So the plea agreement was for both trials. It had to be in his eyes because if he pled guilty to the CSAM charges, then that would be an aggravating factor for the murder case, and he would surely get the death penalty for that one. The agreement was that if Stephan took the plea, they would take the death penalty off of the table. So, I'm from what I gather, they reduced the 60 down to 20 charges of CSAM material. So he pled guilty to 20 of the CSAM charges. So then we get to the murder charge, and this slimeball maggot of a parasite decides instead of pleading guilty, he's going to plead no contest. What the fuck? For those of you who don't know what this means, a no contest plea is a plea where the defendant neither admits nor disputes a charge, serving as an alternative to a pleading of guilty or not guilty. A no contest plea means that the defendant refuses to admit guilt, but accepts punishment as if guilty. This is infuriating. I don't understand why the prosecution would agree to this, or the judge for that matter. They should have made him say that he was guilty or no deal. He is the one who wants the death penalty off of the table, and the prosecution has all of the leverage. He pleaded guilty to all of the horrible things that he did to Maddie, but still won't admit he murdered her. Why? Is he going to try to still blame Jen? Believe me, we will talk about her also, and I do believe she should be charged with something, but I believe Stephan and Stephan alone is the one who killed Maddie. He threw her book bag in the dumpster, drove around with her dead body strapped in the passenger seat of his car, then later on put her in the trunk, and then later on that day, he dumped her body on the side of the road like a piece of trash. Here's what I think. It all has to do with his parents and their continuance of supporting him financially so that he can have his books and his fucking root beer barrels. He pleaded guilty to the sexual abuse of Maddie because his parents knew that was true. It was on his phone. There was actual physical proof. And in the jail calls, he never denied any of that. So it was no surprise to them that he would say he was guilty. But with Maddie's murder, if you have listened to the jail calls between Stephan and his parents, he has always told them that he didn't kill Maddie, but walked in the room and found her dead. When they would try to question him further on it, though, he would say that he couldn't say anything else. So I think that he was afraid if he went to court and admitted that he was guilty of killing her, his parents would be done with him and he could kiss his books, sardines, saltines, spicy peanuts, and root beer barrels goodbye. Or another theory is that maybe he doesn't want to admit that he murdered her because it happened during his sexual abuse of Maddie. We know that he abused her the night that he killed her because of some of the pictures they found on his phone showing the clothing that he had been wearing that day. Maybe in his warped little mind, he was performing some asphyxiation act during the abuse and it went too far, so he doesn't feel like it was murder. This man is just disgusting. With the no contest plea, he still accepts punishment for the crime. So for counts 1 through 8, which was the sexual abuse on a child under 12 years of age, he pled guilty and got life without parole. For the sexual abuse on a child between the ages of 12 through 18, he pled guilty and got life without parole. These were for all of the things that he did to Maddie from the time she was 8 until she was murdered at age 13. For the lewd acts and molestation, he pleaded guilty and also got life without parole. And for Maddie's murder, the coward pled no contest and got life without parole. He got 21 life without parole sentences for each charge. But all those sentences will run concurrently. And at least we know that Stephan Stearns, even though he didn't get the death penalty, will die in prison. It was also stated in the plea agreement that no other CSAM charges can be filed against him. Remember, they found a flash drive on his parents' property that had over 38,000 photos on it involving CSAM, so he will never be able to be charged for that. There were several victim impact statements given during the plea hearing, which showed how loved Maddie was. Her maternal grandmother, whom Maddie called Mama, her aunts, cousins, family, friends, and the 2 roommates that lived in the house with Maddie and her mom and Stephan, all gave heart-shattering statements describing the amazing girl that Maddie was, how they still hear her laughter at night when they try to sleep, how even though she was going through hell in that house at the hands of that monster, she was still happy and loved deeply. They described how Maddie's last day on Earth was her 13th birthday party they threw for her, and how she had so much fun and was so happy. A party that her mother did not attend because she was supposedly working. They described their relationships with her and how their life had been affected because of her murder. How they have trouble trusting people, sleeping at night, and just functioning in day-to-day life. And believe me, none of them held back when it came to telling Stephan what a disgusting person he was. Names like maggot, parasite, depraved, and monster were just some of the words used to describe him, while he sat there looking straight ahead and emotionless. One of the roommates talked about how she had also been a victim of Stephan Stern's perverted and depraved acts. He had taken pictures of her while she was nude, and she didn't find out about it until the police found the pictures in Stephan's phone. This man is a disgusting pervert, and it really bothers me that at one time he worked at Disney around all of those children. Maddie's father, Tyler Wallace, delivered a victim impact statement acknowledging that he hadn't been in his daughter's life as much as he would have liked because of finances, location, and other matters, but said that they were working on their relationship. He said that Maddie had visited his home in October of 2023, and he told her that when she was 13, she could decide which parent she wanted to live with, and he asked her if she would like to come and live with him and his wife Tatiana. Maddie told him yes. He stated, "I was this close to having my little girl." He then addressed Stephan Stearns. "You're depraved, you're weak, and you're a coward. You're a sneak thief. You crept into a family and took advantage of them and exploited them." You could tell that Maddie had so many people that loved her. I just wish she could have told someone what was happening so they could have protected her, since her mom didn't. But she didn't feel like she could. Stephan had been grooming her since she was at least 8 years old. And it could have been earlier since he started dating Jen when Maddie was just 6. So who knows what threats he was whispering in her ears all those years. And speaking of the sorry excuse for a mother, Jen Soto, guess who didn't show up at the plea hearing? This was her last chance to stand up for her daughter, since she had never stood up for her when she was alive. But she failed Maddie once again. And to me, her silence speaks volumes. She knew what was going on in that house for over 5 years, right under her nose, and chose to do nothing. Why didn't she show up to court? There are a lot of speculations. Some say that because everyone is blaming her and saying that she had to know what was going on for all that time, that she didn't want to face everyone and get hated on, and that her family probably blames her too. Or some people are saying that she participated in the abuse and maybe even in the murder, and she knows that whatever she says in a statement can be used against her in court. Or maybe she was just scared they would arrest her if she showed up, which in my opinion should have already happened, and hopefully someday it will. In my opinion, there is no excuse not to be there for her daughter. Jen Soto is a sorry excuse for a mother, a coward, if you will, just like Stephan Stearns. I mean, if she was really that scared to face people, she could have written a statement and had someone else read it. But she didn't even do that. I believe wholeheartedly that Jen knew what Stephan was doing to Maddie all of those years, and if she didn't participate, she still did nothing to stop it. Or did she blame Maddie for what was going on? At one point, when Maddie had first gone missing, Jen had told an investigator that she had worried that when Maddie turned 18, the situation with Stephan and Maddie was going to turn into something like the Woody Allen situation, who started dating his girlfriend's young daughter. Why would Jen think that? She had to already have been seeing signs of something going on. And maybe in her sick and twisted mind, she blamed her daughter, her little girl, instead of the grown man who was grooming her. Or maybe she really didn't know what was going on right under her nose because she was too doped up on her medications that she seemed to be more worried about than her daughter. Maybe she was sleeping the days away while this disgusting maggot was doing whatever he wanted with Maddie. All in all, she is just as sick as Stephan, and her ass belongs in jail along with him, with a charge for endangering a child because she allowed her daughter to sleep with this predator. Then, at the end of the hearing, the judge asked this cockroach Stephan Stearns if he wanted to speak. And of course he did. He wanted to get the last word, and what he said was absolutely disgusting. And here it is. I agree. It's not fair that Madeline is not here anymore. I have a hard time contemplating a world where she's not around. A world that feels less vibrant and less colorful than it did before. I've prayed to God countless times to trade places with her, to take me instead. Unfortunately, that's just not how He works. I have nothing but sorrow for her loss, and I miss her all the time. Her passing has torn me and my family apart as well. She truly was a joy. I pray to God she is in heaven and that He is taking care of her, and that she gets to join the choir because she had a beautiful voice. I'll never not honor her memory, and I apologize for all the pain. What the fuck? This being said by the man who was accused and now convicted of raping, abusing, and murdering Maddie? How dare he? How dare he write what sounded like his own victim impact statement? Stephan Stearns, you were the one who molested, who raped this little girl for years. And not only that, you took photos and videos so that you and your sick, twisted, demented mind could go back and look at them over and over again. You are the one who took her vibrance, her color. You took her life. And you have the audacity to say it's not fair she isn't here anymore and that you have sorrow for her loss and miss her? Notice that he doesn't say her murder has torn me and my family apart. Instead, he says her passing, like she died from natural causes or something. And how dare he say that her passing has torn him and his family apart as well? He is actually trying to put him and his family in the same box as Maddie's family, when he is the one who murdered her. And to try to somehow blame it on God, saying that he would take her place, but that's not how God works. God didn't take Maddie. He did. And he wouldn't take her place. Hell, he wouldn't even accept the death penalty. That's why he took a plea agreement. If you're so willing to die for Maddie, then accept your punishment for what you did. Then to say he thinks about her every day and will miss her all the time after admitting to raping and molesting her for all those years. Is that what he's missing when he thinks about her? He's sick. And at the end, he just says, sorry for the pain. He can't even say sorry for the pain that I caused. He is acting like he is just another person who is mourning Maddie's death. I can't deal with this piece of shit. He needs to go away. They need to throw him under the jail and be done with him. I wish in the plea agreement that the prosecution would not only have made him plead guilty to her murder, but also have put one of the conditions to the agreement was that he could never speak about Maddie or say her name again. And now that he's over, that the court proceedings over, I hope he rots and everyone forgets about his sick ass. I also hope that the family of Madeline Soto can find some kind of closure now that this is over and that Stephan is rotting in jail. And I hope Maddie is finally at peace because she never was during her short life on this earth. For photos and articles pertaining to these stories, check out the Victim's Voice on Facebook and come back next Friday for a brand new case. Until then, peace out.